Hello class, and welcome to this video for how to guide for A9.1. So assignment 9.1, navigation style. So we're going to be working with our navigation here in our website. You should have already downloaded the A9.1 instructions.zip file and then of course extracted it. So this is the folder, what it looks like when it is extracted. I've already double clicked on here and opened up my instructions. That's what this is over here to my left side, or to the left side of my screen. And so I'm going to have this open on one side, Komodo Edit open on the other side as well, and we're going to work through this assignment. So the goal of this one is we're going to use CSS to transform the look of your navigation content. And if you look down here at the bottom of the instructions, and you can open these up on your screen or you can just follow along on the video, you can see in the screenshots we're actually moving the navigation from a bullet point list, so UL unordered list, to these buttons right up here in the top right corner. So it makes it look a lot nicer. It'll also highlight which page is the current one, and then also we're going to add a little bit of responsive navigation, so when you make the screen smaller, it will actually change the buttons that go up here on the top of your page, specifically in CSS and also in this HTML file. So I'm going to go back up here to the top. So that's our goal. So for the description for this assignment, you'll continue to use interior.css style sheet to transform your unordered list into a horizontal navigation element. So in the document html.html, I'm going to open that up here in Komodo Edit, open file. But before I do that, I actually need to go to my old assignment, A8.1, and you should do this every time you do an assignment. And mine's stored in documents. Yours is hopefully stored in a folder with your name on it to keep it organized. And I'm going to make a copy of it. So I had one here from earlier when I was doing a practice run, basically with this, and I'll actually leave it there. But you just right click on it, choose copy, you tell it to paste, and it'll make it. You can change the name of it. So it'll put down A8 Rogers copy, and I'll just change it to A9.1. And I already did that, so I'm going to leave it up here. So this is the folder my files are going to be in that I'm working on. So I'm going to go to Open File here in Komodo Edit. Go to Documents where my files are stored. A9.1, the one we just made. And it says here HTML.html is the file I'm going to be working with. Open it up. I'm going to put word wrap on. Oh, it's actually already on. Great. And I'm going to zoom in here so you can see this. And one of the first things, I'm going to erase this so you can, or at least I'm going to cut it. What you're going to do is in your unordered list item, add the following class attribute only to HTML list opening tag. So this is for your HTML.html file, list class current right here. So I'm going to put right here, this is my opening one. I click in here. I would type it in. I'm just going to paste it in because I had already done this step earlier. And it's going to look just like it does here in this part in the instructions. So same exact thing. Then you're going to go over to css.html, do the exact same thing, but in the list class current css.html link. So I'm going to open up that file. Oh, excuse me, I already have HTML. I need to open up CSS. And then I'm going to, looks like word wrap is already on. I'm going to zoom it in. And same exact thing right here. Just add this part in so you can see list item href css.html. I just type it in right here in that opening tag, so it looks just like this. Very simple. So this is going to help with the navigation bar to have it highlight the one that is current. Alright, now we're going to go with the work on the CSS part of it. So I'm going to open up my document interior.css. So I go to CSS folder, interior.css in my A9.1 folder. I'm going to zoom in so you can actually see this. I'll put word wrap on as well. So we have a lot of things that we're going to add and change to this file. What we're going to actually do first is we're going to change some things that we had typed in last time to make it work better here on your file. So interior.css. What we need to do is we're going to scroll down here to this part, hashtag fluid. This is really ID selector, the number side, fluid container. What I need to do is before the word container, I'm going to type in div ID selector container. And then you're going to go down to main and do the exact same thing, div ID selector main. After adding div ID to main, we're going to add div ID down here to secondary. Continuing along, this is just going to help your code flow a little bit better. Then I'm going to scroll down here, go past fluid image, don't add to that, don't add to media screen, and then right over here, fluid container, I'm going to add div ID container, div ID main, and then div ID secondary. And that's basically it for the changes we need to make to the coding here. It's just to make it understand the code better from what we added last time. Alright, now we're going to add in here what the instructions are actually calling for. So under DD, right here, and in between fluid div container, I'm going to push enter, get it set up for, I pushed it twice so I can get it set up for new rules we're going to add in here. So I'm going to scroll down here, make a new rule for the ID selector with the value of container. So on line 26 for me, it might be different for you. Container, except I forgot my ID selector, so let's add that in. Container, curly brackets, position, relative, semicolon, save. So it looks like that. Then I'm going to add a new rule. I just click down there, or you can push down a couple times, whatever you want to do. And ID selector header, curly brackets, enter, float left, and then width 280 pixels. Excuse me, 280 pixels, not 380. Then I'm going to save it. Again, I click after that curly bracket, get set up for another rule. Next thing I'm going to type in, I'll scroll down here a little bit, pause if you need to. I need a rule for a UL selector with the ID selector, so I type that in, of nav. And I'm going to type this in after the curly brackets, background color to transparent, float set to right, width set to 350 pixels, margin top set to 20 pixels, and I'll save it right there. I set up for my next rule by pushing enter twice, and then it says make a new rule for the UL selector, so let's type that in, UL selector with ID selector, number sign, of nav, with a descendant. Anytime you have a descendant, you push space, of list. So it's going to look just like this, curly brackets, push enter, and then we type in the following. List style, set it to none. Display, set to inline block. Margin right, set to 2 pixels. Just like that. Don't be afraid to pause if you need to. I'm going to save it as well and set up for a new rule. So put this info in right here. Then I'm going to move my instructions down so we can see it better. Make a new rule for the UL selector with the ID attribute, number sign there, of nav with the descendant selector of A. So anchor. Curly bracket, adding it right there. You can see that. And then I'm going to type in the following. Display, setting it to block. Padding, putting it to 5 pixels for top, 10 pixels for top and bottom, and 10 pixels for left and right. So basically what I'm going to do is, remember, you're going around clockwise with it. So it's starting with the top. So 5 pixels top, 10 pixels on the side, 5 pixels at the top, 10 pixels on the side. I'm kind of doing it longer hand. You can do shorthand if you want to. So background color, setting to number sign DDD. Border, setting to 1 pixel. Solid, number sign AAA. And then text decoration to none. And then this rule right here, instead of typing it in, we're kind of nice with the instructions here. We're going to add a drop shadow and do it this way. To add a drop shadow to the background of the box element, you need to use some CSS3. It's a little complex, so the code is provided for you to copy and paste into the rule above. Copy the following box shadow rules below and paste them immediately after text decoration. And you can see it kind of trails off here like this. So I'm just going to go select it, copy it, and then we put it right here under text decoration and paste. And you can see this is how it looks. Alright, so they took care of the code for us there. click to after this curly bracket, and then I need to set this up for another rule. Make a new rule, it says, for the UL selector with ID selector of nav with the descendant, A, with the pseudo class colon hover. So it's going to look just like that, and then type in background color hashtag EEE and save. I tend to save per code. You notice for some reason it goes out. You've picked up right where you left off. Okay, and then next thing I need to add is this rule down here. Pause if you need to. I'm going to scroll down and keep on going for sake of the timing of this video. So I put in UL nav hover. Next thing I'm going to add in here is make a new rule for UL selector with ID selector, nav, and descendant selector list with class selector. Class selectors, remember, period, current with the descendant A selector. That's a long string of words there. So UL selector with the ID selector nav, list selector with the class selector current, and descendant selector A. That's a lot there, but basically it comes down to that. And then type in background color hashtag FFF. Save. And then after that curly bracket, push enter again. Set for one last rule, we're going to put down class selector. Remember, class selectors, period, content, curly brackets, and then set the property clear to the value of both. Just like that. And I'll put one final enter just to have that proper spacing. So this is how it should look. Remember, you can check also the syntax here. It'll tell you if it's wrong. It doesn't fix spelling, but it will tell you if you messed up with something else. I'll put this back so that way you can properly see it. Oh, that is not what I wanted. Let's try this one more time. Here, hang on a second. There we go. All right. There's the code for you. I'm going to get the instructions set up ready to go. Now you'll notice here, we're going down now to our media screen and max width 800 pixels. And we're going to add in our new rules just near the bottom. So if you need to pause, otherwise I'm going to move on. I scroll down here, media screen, right here, max width, and we keep going down till we go past fluid div secondary. And then right here, after this curly bracket, I'm going to push enter, and my new rules are going to go right here. So I should put one more enter. Alright, it says we need to make a new rule for the ID selector, so number sign, fluid with the descendant, that's a space, selector of UL that has the ID selector nav. This is how it should look. Curly brackets, type this in, margin top to 0, width set to 98%, padding set to 4 pixels on all sides, so I can just type in 4 pixels because it'll do it on all sides. I save it, and then another rule we're going to add in right here. So you notice I clicked here and just pushed enter twice. ID selector, it says, a fluid with descendant selector, so space UL, that has the ID selector nav with the descendant selector of list. And it's going to look just like that. Display, block, and then text align, center. And there you go. Now you notice it says right here, previous errors that have not been corrected will have an increase in penalties. Some of you have not fixed the errors that I have mentioned in previous assignments. So every time I grade an assignment, you're going to see comments listed for the assignment that you need to fix before you hand in the next one. Most of the time there's going to be enough time between assignments that you will be able to look at the comments and fix them before you hand it in. So you need to check right now, if you have not, the comments that I gave for the last assignment, if it's been graded, of what you need to change. Now if it's something like it gets graded after this gets handed in for some reason, okay, that's fine. You're not going to be affected by it, except you will the next assignment you hand in. So always check the comments to ensure that you have fixed, because I will go back and see what your previous errors were and double check that, and then of course you'll lose points. Once you've done that, it should make your page look like the screenshot. So I'm going to go to my folder, and I'm going to actually open the page HTML.html up, inside of Firefox. And you can see, let me bring this up here on my screen. You can see here it's added the buttons up here at the top, and this is how it should look. I go to CSS, it has the exact same thing. And then when you change the size of it, you're going to notice that it adjusts to the page. HTML should do the same to some degree. Now you notice this one is not reacting as it should. So what you need to do is you need to go through and make sure your div tags are all correct and how they're placed, specifically the closing tags. But the CSS page definitely should react and do this when you scrunch it up. Alright, and that is how you complete assignment 9.1. So you should scroll past, make sure your pages match up with this part right here. What do you need to do for this assignment? Well, first thing you need to do is zip this file, this folder up right here, A9.1, your last name, make a zip copy. You're going to upload that to eLocker, and then what you're also going to do is you're going to send me the link to your website, your version online, and that one you can actually go to once you add the files in File Manager. Then you could submit the link in the comments section of the eLocker assignment. So I need the zipped file, and then I also need you to update your website. Now I'm going to show you here very quickly in the video how, just again, how to change those files and doing File Manager. So if you finished it and you already know how to do that, you can skip past this part. If you're not sure exactly what you need to do for changing out your files, then this would be a good video for you to watch. Alright, so for me to change the files, I'm going to go to 000webhost.com, and you can see I'm already logged in. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File Manager, Upload Files Now, and then I need to replace the files that have changed. Specifically, the files that we worked on today were interior.css, so I'm going to go to this one, and I'm going to delete the old file, the one that's on here, and replace it with the new one in A9.1. So I go to CSS folder right here. I'm going to delete this one. Actually, you can check the box. Otherwise, I'll right click and select delete. Deleted it, and then I bring my folder back up. Click once, and then I drag it. I go in here, upload interior.css. Then I wait for it to load. I'm going to go back to public HTML because this is where your folders, CSS, and images should be stored, and then your 3 files. And then what I need to do is get rid of css.html and html.html. So I select both of them with the check boxes. I choose delete, get rid of them. And then I'm going to go to my folder and select the 2. And then I'm going to drag it over here. Upload. Now you notice sometimes the file manager messes up. That's okay. Exit out of it. Click Upload Files Now. It'll reload the page and work just fine. So you can see it didn't add my HTML file. So I'm going to do it one more time. Right here, Upload Files, html.html, css.html, upload. And there you go. It works great. I'm going to go and view html.html to ensure that the page worked properly. And you see right here, here's the buttons. It did work. You'll notice it highlights the one that I'm on. And I can go to CSS. You'll notice for some reason the website, because it's a free web hosting service, this is for some reason changed. And that's okay, don't worry about that right now, because as long as your coding matches what I told you, that's what counts. And then it should work when you scrunch it up. You'll notice that it's adjusting to the page there. If it isn't adjusting, specifically I know HTML, make sure your div tags are set up properly and that they work there. And that is again how you finish this file, and this last part is how you upload it to 000webhost.com. And you'll notice my link, I do want the index one, is this one right here. So vca.fowd.000webhostapp.com/index.html. This is the one you'll copy and put inside the comments. Otherwise, make sure you get this assignment done, upload it, and have a great